Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from Saba Satellite Channel. Let's begin with the headlines. President Al-Alimi receives credentials of 5 new ambassadors in Aden.
Prime Minister bin Break meets ambassadors of key nations supporting Yemen's reforms.
Yemen participates in Islamic Labor Ministers' Conference in Doha.
UNRWA says no aid reached Gaza since ceasefire.
Welcome once again, and here are the details. President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Mohammed Al-Alimi, received the credentials of 5 new ambassadors accredited to the Republic of Yemen. The new envoys represent the Arab Republic of Egypt, Ihab Ahmed Abu Saria. The Federal Republic of Germany, Thomas Friedrich. The European Union, Patrick Simonet. The Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mohammed Al-Amin Ibrahim. And the Federative Republic of Brazil, Paulo Aucha Fellow. During separate meetings, the ambassadors conveyed greetings from their leaders and expressed their commitment to strengthening bilateral ties with Yemen.
President Al-Alimi welcomed the diplomats and reaffirmed the government's readiness to provide all facilities for their missions, emphasizing Yemen's commitment to expanding cooperation and mutual interests. He said the growing number of diplomatic accreditation reflects the International Committee's confidence in Yemen's legitimate government and reaffirmed efforts in Aden while further isolating to Iran-backed Houthi militia. The president also discussed economic reforms and stabilization measures and welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza, praising the mediation efforts of Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United States, and other partners. President Al-Alimi called on the world to classify the Houthi militia as a terrorist organization and expressed gratitude to the Saudi-led coalition and the United Arab Emirates for their continuous support. He reaffirmed Yemen's commitment to peace and stability based on United Nations Resolution 2216 and agreed international frameworks.
Also in Aden, Prime Minister Dr. Salim bin Break met with the ambassadors of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Deputy French Ambassador to discuss Yemen's reform program and economic recovery plan. The meeting reviewed political and economic developments and the government's efforts to stabilize the situation amid difficult conditions. Prime Minister bin Break briefed the ambassadors on the government's fiscal and monetary reforms, which helped strengthen the national currency and improve financial stability.
He said the battle for economic and administrative reform is as vital as restoring the state and ending the Iran-backed Houthi coup, emphasizing that the government tackles challenges with responsibility and strategic planning. He thanked partner nations for their political and economic support and reaffirmed commitment to the reform program built on stability, service, improvement, and transparency. The Prime Minister added that coordination with the Presidential Leadership Council continue to enhance stability and unify decision-making in Aden. The ambassador praised the government's achievements and reaffirmed their continuous support for Yemen's reform path and efforts to rebuild state institutions.
In Washington, Yemen's Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, Dr. Waed Badib, held talks with World Bank Vice President for the Middle East and North Africa, Ousmane Dion, to enhance strategic partnership and expand development support. Dr. Badib reviewed the government's progress in economic and financial reforms, including currency stabilization and improved revenue collection, despite ongoing challenges from the Houthi piracy.
He stressed that the World Bank's $2 billion portfolio in Yemen represents development, not humanitarian support, focusing on services, infrastructure, and institutional reforms. The minister called for aligning future programs with government priorities, emphasizing job creation and greater coordination with international partners to support private sector growth. World Bank officials praised Yemen's reform and reaffirmed continuous support. Both sides agreed to prepare a new country preparations partnership framework focused on economic recovery and sustainable job opportunities.
Yemen took part in the 6th Islamic Conference of Labor Ministers in Doha, under the theme Local Experiences, Global Achievements, Success Stories in the Islamic World, with a delegation led by Minister of Social Affairs and Labor, Dr. Muhammad Al-Zuri. The conference, attended by representatives of over 50 Islamic countries, aims to enhance cooperation in labor and social development across the Islamic world.
Dr. Zouri highlighted Yemen's deep economic and humanitarian crisis caused by the Houthi militia war, noting soaring employment, the collapse of over 70% of businesses, and billions losing income. He stressed the need to invest in human capital and expand social protection. He reaffirmed Yemen's support to OIC initiatives in training, employment, and labor protection, expressing hope the conference will help create jobs and support recovery. Dr. Zouri praised the OIC's development rule, the Islamic Labor Center, and the humanitarian funds, and reiterated Yemen's support for the Palestinian people, thanking Qatar and the OIC for hosting the event.
In Cairo, Yemen is taking part in the 72nd session of the WHO Regional Committee for the Eastern Mediterranean, led by Minister of Public Health and Population Dr. Qasim Bohaibe. The meetings discussed key health issues including emergency preparedness, polio eradication, and climate change impact and recovery of health systems in conflict-affected countries.
Minister Bohaibe reviewed Yemen's progress in national health security planning and emergency response despite years of conflict, noting advances made with World Health Organization's technical support. He highlighted the creation of the Yemen National Institute of Health and efforts to implement the One Health approach linking human, environmental, and animal health. Dr. Bohaibe praised World Health Organization support and called for stronger regional cooperation with countries like Somalia, Sudan, and Djibouti to jointly address cross-border health risks and disease outbreaks.
Governor of Al-Mahra Muhammad Ali Yasser met today with Masaki Watanib, Senior Political Affairs Officer at the Office of the UN Special Envoy to Yemen, to discuss economic, humanitarian, and security developments in the governorate. The meeting, attended by Secretary General of the Local Council Salim Abdullah Naimer and Deputy Governor for Public Relations Muhammad Muhsin Rafet, reviewed local challenges and the UN's efforts to support stability and peace in Yemen.
Governor Yasser pointed to recent government economic reforms that lead to currency stabilization and a drop in the prices, noting that the Houthi militia remains the main obstacle to peace. The United Nations delegation praised the government's stability and the cooperation extended to international organizations, affirming the envoy's office's commitment to following developments and listening to local perspectives in support of the overall peace process.
Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade for Domestic Trade, Dr. Atif Haidara, discussed in Aden with Layla Ahadi, Director of the World Food Programme Office in Aden, and her Deputy Rashid Hamid, ways to enhance partnership and food security. The meeting, attended by the Ministry and WFP officials, reviewed food security trends, the impact of economic fluctuations and currency instability on commodity prices and supply chain disruptions.
Both sides stressed the importance of joint coordination and information exchange to stabilize markets, enhance strategic stock systems, and ensure fair pricing for consumers through better supply chain monitoring. WFP representatives commended the program's role in easing pressure on local markets and supporting vulnerable groups, praising government monitoring teams for their efforts to control prices and prevent market imbalances.
In Paris, UNESCO's executive board has adopted a resolution submitted by Yemen's permanent delegation to protect the country's cultural heritage, education and media sectors. The resolution calls for safeguarding World Heritage sites, preventing antiquities smuggling, and supporting schools, universities, and journalists affected by the conflict.
It also urges the creation of a special fund of voluntary counter-operation and demands the immediate release of 4 detained UNESCO staff members held by the Houthi group. Yemen's permanent delegate Dr. Mohammed Jumeih thanked the member states, especially Arab countries, for their support, noting that the decision was adopted by full consensus. The Masam project of the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center announced receiving a report from a resident of Midi district north of Hajja Governorate about a tank minefield near Al-Makazin village, a populated area. Team leader engineer Saif Al-Mashmari said the alert came from the farmer during his work, and the team immediately moved to inspect and classify the site as dangerous area. He urged residents to avoid approaching the location until clearness is completed. Meanwhile, Massam team intensified mine awareness campaigns in schools along Yemen's western coast with the start of the new school year to protect students from the war remnants. According to the Team 9 leader Ali Abrahimi, a campaign held at Shazali School in Al-Muqatta''s Governorate targeted over 230 students, teaching them about types of mines and how to report them. Abrahimi stressed that the awareness is key complement to clearness operations, noting that campaigns focus on schools, markets, and residential areas. The Iran-backed Houthi militia has acknowledged the death of Mohammed Abdul Karim al-Ghamari, who had been acting as the group's so-called chief of staff, along with his son, in an airstrike that targeted him in the capital city of Sana'a. The Houthi group admitted that al-Ghamari was killed in what it described as one of the American-Israeli raids on Yemen over the past 2 years, without disclosing the exact date or location of the strike. Al-Ghamari was considered one of the most senior figures in the Houthi military hierarchy and a key member of the group's so-called Jihad Office, responsible for planning military operations. Observers say his death deals a major blow to the Houthi militia's military and political structure, and is expected to deepen internal divisions and confusion within the group's ranks. In Gaza, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, says no humanitarian aid has entered the Gaza Strip, even though the ceasefire has been in place for several days. UNRWA spokesperson Adnan Abu Hasna
said the agency remains the backbone of humanitarian work in Gaza and must be allowed to lead the relief effort.
He warned that excluding UNRWA from the response would mean the collapse for the entire humanitarian operation and a loss of public trust. Abu Hasna said the agency staff continue to work under extremely difficult conditions, but Israeli authorities are preventing them from distributing food assistance. He added that Israel has still not permitted the entry of around 6,000 trucks loaded with the food and essential supplies, enough to feed Gaza's population in 3 months.
This has been the news from Saba Satellite Channel. Thank you for watching and have a good time.